Hello and welcome to Compulsion 2013. Here with me is Paco from GMS Magazine, helping me ask these people a sense of interrogating questions into their personal life. Also with me is Phil Harris, one of the coordinators of Compulsion 2013, and Gregor Hutton, one of the other coordinators for Compulsion 2013. Hello again, gents.
Hello.
How? So I guess the first question we got to go into is how have you found? Because it's Sunday now. It's kind of not on the wind down, but getting ever so closer to 7 o'clock in the closing ceremony. How have you found this convention?
For me, it's been better than last year.
Yes, I'd agree. I think it's had a real fantastic buzz. We've had lots of things going on. People that came last year have been enjoying it even more, and we've had more people through the door. And universal feedback to me last night of happiness, which is awesome.
Yeah, we've tried a few new things. We've managed to free up a few new locations, like the new Amphion, which I really wanted to be this sort of hub of gaming because it's sort of the central hub of the building, and that's been fantastic. We had a debate last night, which went really, really well. It was really, really good fun. And a lot of this is about engineering. To do the boring bit, it's about engineering costs against demand and like seeking of what's best for it, so that we can get more guests to the con or more of X, Y, and Z, rather than spending money. Last year we had a steampunk disco, which was really popular till 1 o'clock, but we had the thing booked until 3, and we were paying for the staff. And there's a lot of venues in and around Edinburgh, and very, very local, where people could go off to a disco if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's just about looking at those costs and balancing them out and making sure, for us, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn on Gregor's behalf, but I'm sure he'll just speak over me if he feels that I am, or just make faces to the camera while I'm talking. That our idea was that we expand the whole idea of gaming and a gaming convention beyond where Compulsion had sat, and so getting CCGs back in here.
War games been really great this year.
Yeah, board games, role-playing games.
And I'd even say I have seen many people with their 3DSs out because of you guys at Neil Enough Dice.
And Ian Lowson.
And don't forget Ian. Ian was the one who started it, and then I just went, okay, let's do this.
But also, we've, through my links in the video games industry, we've also expanded out to really, really sort of embrace that and embrace the fact that gaming across all mediums is gaming. And I think it's very, very important that conventions like this move forward with the times, they adapt with the times, because they're the ones which will stay and become larger because they attract more people.
Yep.
You guys have been running this convention for a number of years.
Yeah, we've just run this year and last year, but
Right.
we've been around for a long time.
Sometime.
Some would say we're sedimentary.
Jurassic.
I bet you are. My question would be, what has the difference been? What kind of evolution has the convention followed in the years that you have been attending or organising it, or what have you? What's different today?
In the danger of getting an ice pick put in my head, you've got to have permanent revolution. So what it is everything's got to be of its own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's true of anything, whether it's gaming, media, conventions, the human experience, that you have to go with the times, and you have to be open to new ideas and changing it. So it would be unthinkable 10 years ago at Compulsion to have guests from the internet and tweet. Twitter wasn't even invented, and all these things. You wouldn't have had that. You wouldn't have had podcasts. You wouldn't have had, magazines would have been large print subscription magazines. It wouldn't be small and agile things that can adapt to the communities. And so I think you've just got to be open to it and say, let's not do it because it's always been done that way, and look at it and make sure it's done because it needs to be done for this year.
And balance the what's coming with what's traditional, so that you don't alienate your audience. Sam Richards, this is the first time he's ever appeared at a convention and things like this, and I'm really, really glad that he chose Compulsion, through blackmail and other purposes. But I'm glad he chose compulsion because I know how friendly this convention is, and I know that the people are friendly. We always have good debates and good talks, and I think that's part of the function.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is like the Griffey Awards this year. There's 5 role-playing games that are new that have been released between last compulsion, this compulsion, and there's 5 on the role-playing game product category, and there was many more that didn't make that final list. The 5 that they are great. There was great ones that didn't make the list. The board games are the same. The Android Netrunners there's a card game we put in the board game product category, but there's all these other great board games that have come out in the last calendar year, and again that just shows that what gamers are playing is we're playing classic games, but we're also embracing new games, and it's actually a really great time to be a gamer, and I think you see that when you come to the convention, and all we have to do is make sure that you're able to have a good time. I think that's fundamentally what you should try and do in an event like this. Don't be a barrier to fun, be an enabler for fun.
Yeah.
I like how you summed up all the very large number of tasks you did into something so small and so simple sounding.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of paddling under the water,
Yes.
probably.
So if
Like icebergs do.
Yeah, definitely. So this is the last convention that you guys are going to be the coordinators for, if I'm correct, which is sad to hear.
Well, I sort of explained that in my final speech, but
Yeah, I think you've got to hand it on, and you've got to show other people the way, and then they can do it their own way. This is how we're doing it, and I think we've done a really great job. The committee last year of handing it on to people this year, and then hopefully the committee this year handing it on to people for next year when they decide who those people are. And I think it's in good hands.
Yes.
We were all young once. Some of you still are.
But also it is like I think what we've done is we've created a really, really nice template, which is fairly solid. But within that template, the bits of the pieces on the board are movable. I now feel like Zeus in Clash of the Titans, moving the pieces about them on the board.
But I think we've set up a good framework.
Yeah.
And the people that have helped this year, some people it's been the first time in the committee, or the first time being a responsible person in the committee before they've maybe staffed or volunteered or run events, and that they have learned what they've done wrong this year. And as far as I know, the public haven't seen any of the little things that have gone wrong, and it's been a great experience. But they know that next year, I'll change that or make it better. And whether we agree with them is irrelevant because it'll be their con.
Nice.
What differences do you see between compulsion and other conventions organised in Scotland compared with conventions organised in England, for example, like Dragonmeet or UK Games Expo? What are the differences from the type of players and the kind of activities point of view?
I think conventions, you have to know what your focus is. Compulsion has been about gaming and gamers. And we have traders, we have award ceremonies and events and podcast meetups, but that's, those things aren't the core thing. Something like Dragonmeet is a one-day con, it's London's big convention. UK Games Expo is a family thing, that's what they've really gone for, and they do it brilliantly. It's really great for trade or general board games. Dragonmeet is a really great trade event, I would say, which has games at it, but it's something like Concrete Cow in Milton Keynes is all about games and gamers. They're not really about trade. I think there's maybe one trader or two traders there, just to bob the dice man to make sure people have got their dice. But it's all about 55 people in Milton Keynes having the most awesome gaming. So I think if you're running a convention or any event, you have to say what's our focus. And I think Phil, your focus is really being let's get gamers gaming and having fun. I think you've been brilliant at it.
And I think also too, because compulsion had gone through a certain set of levels and changes, it also gave me the opportunity that when I came in with this, I was just like, let's give it a theme. And so last year was Apocalypse.
And you failed. And you failed because we didn't destroy the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So this year, we obviously had espionage, and I'm sort of, I'm delighted with that, but that doesn't mean that next year it has to have a theme. It can go back just to being compulsion with a year. As Gregor said, it's adaptable. What it's about is, for me, it's about the games, the gaming, and the charity.
Yeah.
It was set up as Dungeon Aid 26 years ago to aid charities in Edinburgh, local charities, and it's maintained that purpose throughout its years, and it's earned thousands upon thousands of pounds for charities, and you know that's just a good thing. And if people can have fun and raise money for charity, then
To see this year the charity is Waverley Care, who offer support to HIV and hepatitis C
AIDS
sufferers, and specifically in the Edinburgh and Lothian area. And they're a local charity. Money we raise will make a huge difference to them, and it was incredibly gratifying that the charity re-rolls that have been on the tables for the games, donations, the auction they bring in by, and I think it's is it £1,800 of that order?
The auction got 1,600, and we've got a lot of money still coming in. I mean, for my one game that I'm doing, which is Plantagenet Park, basically people can buy the T-shirts and everything's going to charity. I paid for the T-shirts, but I'm not looking for any money back. Everything's going to the charity. So it's positive. Now, but it's not the only type of thing that's going on like that. Fiona and Jason's Bring and Buy stall, where a percentage of those monies go. Union of Genius, we have to mention Union of Genius. If you're in Edinburgh, go.
It's a soup cafe, Scotland's first, and they are giving us £1 for every soup they've sold over the weekend.
Yeah, from everybody, not just compulsion goers, and that's an amazing amount of money, and it's an amazing amount of warmth, and part of the reason that they originally got involved is that Bruce Mason set up Dungeon Aid right back there 26 years ago, and it's his way of getting back involved in the process, and we love that. That's absolutely fantastic. It's valuable to us. It's valuable to the people who come to the convention, and it's valuable to the charity.
But I think it's a sort of a gamer thing, when we're all very keen to help out where we can, be good citizens. I think that's a sort of very a trait very much that I've seen in the sort of gaming world.
Mm-hmm. I think you guys have done a fantastic job. I think that the charities you've helped have been amazing. We talked to Waverley Care and they seem absolutely brilliant. So did Pass It On last year.
Yes.
So I think you guys should be really chuffed with yourselves of all you've achieved these last 2
I hope
years.
everyone will be patting us in the back as they kick us out the door.
Yes, and don't come back.
I know that the guys who are going to be organising or coordinating next year's compulsion are probably fairly experienced and they know what they're doing. But what sort of things would you like them to do that has not been done yet, and what advice would you give them in terms of don't do that?
I would say that when they're printing out the name sign-up sheet, possibly putting it in alphabetical order like I didn't would have helped them. Whoops.
I think the advice I would give them is don't take any advice from me. Find their own path, and then if they need help with a specific logistical problem, or they've got a question, or they want to sound me out as among a bunch of people, that'd be great. But don't feel that they have to do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, always feel that you should adapt. If things stagnate, then they don't improve. Things should always adapt with the times. Something massive may happen in gaming in 2 months' time. Some major change in like law or policy could affect gaming, and that may just affect the whole flow of what the convention's about. And I think you have to adapt and change with that flow. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah. Don't be frightened to fail either. Try things. If they don't work out, it's not because we didn't try.
So what would you like them to do differently next year? What would you like to see in compulsion next year? Now you're going to be your baby.
I'd like to see some historical wargaming. I really would. I've got an American Civil War miniatures. I've got some Union Confederates. There's no point in buying one of them. And I am hopefully going to have those painted up. And I'd like to see something like small little DBA type tournaments where you can just field small armies. So they play in about half an hour. I'd love to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to see the debate happen another year, because I think it was even though it was compact and bijou, it was going the right way. And it goes going back to the costs thing. What else would I like to see? I'd like to see it broaden through gaming as far as possible. Just maintain the popularity, and maintain the contacts that we have, and bring those people back together again and again. I mean, it's lovely that we've got guests from last year coming just to attend the convention, like Stuart Boone. That's just awesome, you know. And it's when you get that calibre of things. Phil Masters, who does an awesome job for us every year, just returning again and again and again. These people are known in the industry, and it's beautiful just to have them here and to have them so happy to come and happy to get involved. All our art team, and you can see it in the talks. You know, there's no prodding. All the seats are electrified, but we do make sure that they know who's got the button. And
Yeah, and for me, it's also good seeing podcasters, videocasters, media, magazines. I think it's a good place for people to meet up and sort of network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know this guy, and then now he's sitting here with me. It's great.
I just happened to come through here. I thought, ask questions.
who are they?
Your question asking has become slightly famous this weekend.
Yeah. I'm leveling up.
Especially in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well,
We're talking about the last 5 minutes, but we've got 2 or 3 before the next talk goes ahead. So, any other questions?
well, not that can be answered in
No.
2 or 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, go on.
Well, I'm going to ask a question that some people may consider to be a bit controversial. There is a convention in London called Nine Worlds that has been funded through Kickstarter.
Yes.
Do you think that conventions is something that should be considering? Because I mean, I don't know how much to run this compulsion is, but I bet it ain't cheap, and I bet it's not. It's a bit. Is this gonna cost me money if people don't come and buy the tickets? Is Kickstarter something that you think is a legitimate way of funding conventions like this?
Having been involved with some Kickstarter
You have
projects,
2 minutes, remember?
having been involved with some Kickstarter projects, I think that yes, it's a legitimate way of funding it. However, is it going to be able to fund it every year? Is that convention going to be able to make a profit from that Kickstarter funding, which means it can run another year, so it's not asking for funding year on year? Because for asking for funding year on year, and then potentially asking for ticket prices on top of that, it creates it creates a dangerous precedent, and it's a precedent that people may not compete in and may not take part in. Obviously, and it really, really depends on one bad year. It's always talked about Kickstarter having a fundamentally bad project, which is a big named project, and that bringing the whole thing to a close for certain industries and certain agencies, and that's always a worry. Anything that goes on Kickstarter, you have to consider that. Good on them is what I'd say. I think that's definitely a possibility of a way to go. That's one of the things Kickstarter was there for. It was there for the art exhibits. It was there for lots of other stuff. And it'd be interesting to see how it develops. But it's about understanding the community and understanding what the community will do, and ensuring that you do not push them into a position where they feel that they're backed against a wall. Because as soon as you're backed against a wall, you're not going to fund.
I don't think it's controversial at all. I think, and that might be controversial in itself, I think, it's totally valid for them to kickstart it and see if it flies. I backed it. I'm not attending because I'll be in the United States. It's the week before Gen Con Indianapolis. But, one thing you have to know when you do a convention is, will we get people through the door? And Kickstarter, there you are. If you want to come, pay for your ticket. If enough people pay for their ticket, it will get funded and there will be a convention. If people don't want to pay for it, that's cool too. And they don't have to buy a ticket. No one's got a gun at their head. And if not enough people fund it, it won't happen. So in some ways, I see it as actually a safe way for them to test the water, to see if there's a market for that convention. Now, when the convention happens,
We'll see.
We'll
Yes,
see. We'll
that's
see.
gonna be the second part of it.
And that's a different question. That's like, is this convention what we wanted from it? I really, really hope it is. Because but you know, I think for kickstarting it, why not kick the tires? See if people will put their money where their mouth is, and it heavily overfunded, which was awesome from my point of view.
Yes, it's good. And I think actually from everything I've seen, almost every role-playing and gaming product, which isn't a video game, that's a different kettle of fish here, has been funded really, really well on Kickstarter because people actually want to see it. And there's a bigger question there, which you can ask me sometime, get me on the podcast and I'll talk about Kickstarter sometime.
Yeah, let's do that.
But I think we're going to have to end.
Yes, no, thank you very much for your time, guys.
No, thank you so much.
No, it's brilliant because you're putting the word of compulsion out there.
Cool.
You sounded far too religious.